Testing. Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick video about Halo Infinite's new update that'll be dropping in just a few short days. Before we talk about the problems, I just want to summarize the live stream Halo Studios did that broke down the new update. So they began the stream with a reminder that a majority of the studio are working on new Halo projects, a skeleton crew is currently working on Halo Infinite to keep it supported with new content and new cosmetics to buy, which led into them showing off a change to their battle pass system. It's not going to be like 50 tiers, it's a bit more expensive and it will expire like a lot of normal battle passes, which sucks, but I'll get into that later. They then showed off a brand new gun, which is the Fuel Rod Spanker. Similar to the Avenger SMG, I think it's pretty obvious that this was a microtransaction skin for the rocket launcher that they just chose to turn into a new weapon to fill a gap in the current weapon sandbox. They said it'll operate a lot like the Fuel Rod gun from previous games, and yeah, it's a new gun, technically, but we're also going to talk about people's reactions to that a bit later. Okay, and finally, there were a ton of balancing tweaks that were coming to the game. The AR is getting its headshot multiplier removed, Bulldog as well. Some other tweaks to the Heatwave, Stalker, Disruptor, and so on that seemed interesting. They're also nerfing strafing to get the gameplay feeling less slippery and just loosey-goosey. Then they talked about HCS stuff, and I'll be honest, it just didn't need to be in a live stream. In fact, actually, I thought a lot of this live stream could have just been a blog post, which I want to be frank, this was not a good live stream. The guys hosting the stream did their best, but the chat was pretty toxic, and it's sort of at a point where any developer that puts their face out there for Halo Infinite, they're just going to get torn apart. I enjoy Halo Infinite, but I also came to terms with the fact that it will sort of always be in this awkward, buggy state where it couldn't quite meet its full potential. There was this part in the stream where Unisheck tried to show off how to buy the new, more expensive battle pass and really sell it to people, and the UI just bugged out and glitched, which was even more blood in the water for the chat who just were not having it. When they showed off the new Fuel Rod Spanker, things got bad. People were annoyed that it wasn't a proper fuel rod gun. Some people brought up that there was even a leftover Halo 5 fuel rod gun in the game's files and they should have just used that. And I want to step in here and say, yes, as much as I would have preferred that, it's not as easy as some of the armchair developers on Twitter make you think. That Halo 5 fuel rod had busted animations, a lack of production value, polish, and textures. And no, it's not as simple as just putting the old animations and textures in. In a AAA game environment, you gotta involve playtesting, language localization, UI and UX, etc., etc. You gotta redo the materials, textures, and assets so that it doesn't look janky. It's not as simple as just porting a model into an MCC game and then throwing it up on the Steam Workshop. There's a lot more that goes into it if it's gonna be properly part of the game. Bottom line is, it was more realistic for the skeleton crew working on Halo Infinite to just take the rocket launcher, give it a skin that they had in their vault, and change the rockets from missiles to hunter gun shots. A spot was missing in the sandbox, you know, the fuel rod gun spot, and they found a creative way to fill it while keeping the cost of development low. You know that Iron Man meme? They basically built this thing in a cave with a box of scraps. Now, the community's reaction has been ruthless. A really vocal part of the community are calling it lazy, insulting, etc., etc. And I gave you the reasons why it's not a matter of effort, it's more a matter of resources. But it does suck that Halo is in a situation where this really is the best the live team can do. Quite literally, the only way they could have gotten this weapon to us with the resources they have to use. But there is a timeline where this could have just stayed as an ugly shop cosmetic that nobody would have bought and nothing would have actually been added mechanically to the game. I feel like two things can be true here. This edition, it's going to be good for the game, and it still sucks that Halo is in a place where this is the best we can get. Now, the sandbox tweaks are a bit cool. Things like modifying grenades to feel a bit more like they did in older titles, slowing down strafe speed, removing the headshot multiplier on the assault rifle and Bulldog are all great changes. And I hope it's an indication that the studio now sort of gets why Bungie balanced their games the way they did. What I think didn't quite land is that a lot of these tweaks aren't really stream worthy, you know? They're balancing tweaks. It's not new content being added. This is just stuff you would see in a blog post, so it just didn't really play well to the live audience. It was made worse when the stream crashed due to a power outage in their building, which isn't their fault, but it was sort of like a cherry on top of a live stream that just wasn't being received too well. I think the worst part of the live stream, though, was definitely the HCS stuff. Now, I don't like the community sentiment that esports don't matter, because esports do matter. Competitive Halo has been a part of the series since the very first game. Excited players and huge communities come together each year to participate, attend, or watch competitive Halo. Does it make up a majority of the Halo community? Of course not, but neither does the Infection community, or the Griffball community, or the Forge community, or Big Team Battle community, etc. And that doesn't make any of them less valid. Halo is a game of many parts, and pretending that competitive Halo just isn't important to the series is just as dumb as saying that social modes aren't important to the series. Both can coexist and thrive together, but maybe this HCS portion should have been its own dedicated stream, because the people watching were not really interested in HCS events, dates, teams, etc. They just wanted to know what was being added to the game. It wasn't a good stream, man. I feel bad for the developers who are working with their hands tied to improve the game for a thankless and impatient player base, and I feel bad for the player base that does enjoy the game and have to endure the constant toxicity of those who don't like it. And I feel bad for the people who don't like it, and they're so angry because they just want Halo to have a big fat W, and it's been, well, a really long time since that's happened. I'm not sure what my message is here. I guess I just wanted to put my feelings out there. If any developers are watching, look, I'm looking forward to the Fuel Rod Spanker, and I currently appreciate the gap that the Avenger SMG filled in the weapon meta. I hope you guys can sort of tune out the anger and brainstorm more legacy weapon roles that can possibly be hacked together in a similar way to the Avenger or Fuel Rod Spanker in the future. For the community watching, Halo Infinite is a game with undeniable flaws. When compared to the Bungie classics like Halo 3, Breach, it's hard not to see where Halo Infinite just falls so damn short, man, in terms of content, polish, and just overall quality. Fans have every right to be frustrated. I get that. The Halo franchise, it's always been held to this really high standard, and Infinite just hasn't lived up to that standard. Still, I enjoy the game for what it is. I've accepted that Halo Infinite just isn't going to deliver the same level of grandeur as Bungie's best work. While the ongoing updates and patches haven't brought mind-blowing changes or anything on par with what other live service games are doing, I do still appreciate the effort that the current live service team is putting into the game. It's clear that they are internally constrained in what they can do, and even if those details aren't always visible to us on the outside, I enjoy playing Halo Infinite, and these little updates are things that I think are good for the game. That being said, for Halo to thrive going forward, the next entry absolutely needs to deliver. We can't keep lowering the bar for future Halo releases. I hope Halo Studios and those making the big decisions about Halo's direction are paying very close attention to the community's concerns. Fans deserve a game that feels whole, polished, and capable of capturing the magic that defined the series at its peak. And I don't think it's this impossible thing that can't be achieved. I think it can be achieved. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy and this message will be heard by nobody. In the event that you do, at least get me. Maybe share the video around to help boost the signal. Liking and subscribing is also cool too. Just be excellent to each other.